Prince Harry may be standing at one of the most significant crossroads of his life, and this time the decision is not about royal duties, media interviews, or public appearances. It is about family. Reports suggesting that King Charles could invite his youngest son to stay at Buckingham Palace during a possible visit to Britain this September have reignited discussion about whether the long-running royal family rift is finally entering a new chapter. While nothing has been officially confirmed, even the possibility of such an invitation has captured widespread attention because of what it could represent behind closed palace doors. For years, the relationship between King Charles and Prince Harry has been defined by distance, misunderstanding, and public controversy. Since Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties in 2020, the family's private disagreements have repeatedly become international headlines. High-profile interviews, Harry's memoir, and various public statements deepened the perception that trust between father and son had been severely damaged. That is why reports of a possible invitation from the king are attracting so much interest. The story is no longer simply about accommodation during a visit. It is about symbolism. If the reports are accurate, opening the doors of Buckingham Palace would send a subtle but meaningful message. Royal families often communicate through actions more than words. A private invitation carries a different weight than a public statement. It suggests a willingness to rebuild personal relationships without necessarily changing official roles or constitutional responsibilities. It is important to separate emotion from expectation. An invitation to stay at Buckingham Palace would not automatically mean Prince Harry is returning as a working royal. There has been no indication that such a move is under consideration. Instead, many royal observers believe any invitation would reflect a father's desire to reconnect with his son rather than a change in the structure of the monarchy. That distinction matters. The British royal family has consistently emphasized the difference between family relationships and institutional responsibilities. Even if personal reconciliation becomes possible, official royal duties remain a separate matter. This allows both realities to exist at the same time. Family healing does not necessarily require constitutional change. Prince Harry's reported visit to the United Kingdom earlier this month also added another layer to ongoing speculation. Every trip he makes to Britain is now viewed through the lens of possible reconciliation. Small developments that might once have passed unnoticed now generate worldwide discussion because so much public attention surrounds the family's relationship. King Charles himself has faced an exceptionally demanding period over the past few years. Balancing the responsibilities of the crown while managing personal health challenges has inevitably shifted public focus toward the importance of family. Many commentators have argued that moments of personal difficulty often encourage reconciliation within families, regardless of how complicated previous disagreements may have been. Public opinion remains deeply divided. Some believe Prince Harry should accept any opportunity to rebuild trust with his father and other family members. Others argue that too much has happened over recent years for reconciliation to come easily. Supporters of Harry often point to the pressures he has described publicly, while critics question whether damaged trust can realistically be restored after so many private matters became public. Regardless of where people stand, one point is difficult to ignore. Relationships within families are rarely simple, especially when those families also represent national institutions watched by millions around the world. Every private conversation carries public consequences, making reconciliation considerably more complicated than it would be for most families. There is also the broader question of legacy. King Charles has spent decades preparing for the role he now occupies. History often remembers monarchs not only for constitutional achievements but also for how they manage moments of family crisis. A quiet effort to restore communication with his youngest son could eventually become one of the defining personal stories of his reign, regardless of whether complete reconciliation is ever achieved. For Prince Harry, accepting such an invitation, if it has indeed been extended, could also represent an opportunity rather than a guarantee. Rebuilding trust is rarely accomplished through a single meeting or symbolic gesture. It usually requires patience, consistency, and private conversations that the public may never witness. Sometimes the smallest step is simply agreeing to sit down together. One reason this reported development resonates so strongly is because it reflects something universal. Behind the royal titles, palace walls, and constitutional traditions are parents, children, brothers, and relatives navigating challenges familiar to many families. While their circumstances are extraordinary, the emotions involved often feel remarkably relatable. At this stage, it remains important to remember that reports surrounding the invitation have not been officially confirmed by Buckingham Palace or Prince Harry's representatives. Until formal confirmation arrives, much of the discussion remains based on media reporting and informed royal commentary rather than verified fact. That distinction is essential when evaluating stories involving the royal family. Even so, the possibility alone has shifted the conversation. Instead of asking whether reconciliation is impossible, many are now asking whether the first meaningful steps may already be underway. Sometimes history changes through dramatic announcements. Other times, it begins with a simple invitation extended quietly behind palace gates. Whether Prince Harry ultimately accepts the reported invitation or whether the visit happens at all may become one of the most closely watched royal developments in the months ahead. The outcome could influence not only family dynamics but also public perceptions of the monarchy's ability to balance tradition with compassion during deeply personal moments. Do you believe a stay at Buckingham Palace could genuinely help rebuild the relationship between King Charles and Prince Harry, or has too much happened for true reconciliation to succeed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this balanced royal news analysis, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with others following the latest royal family developments.